Hey everybody, this is Rykard here again, and welcome to another Pokemon Movesets video. Today's video is going to be all about Omastar, so let's get started by taking a look at this Pokemon's typing, abilities, and stats. So to start things off, Omastar is a Rock-Water type Pokemon introduced into Generation 1, and has access to 3 abilities, the first of which being Swift Swim, which doubles this Pokemon's speed while Rain is up on the battlefield, the second being Shell Armor, which makes it so that this Pokemon can never be critically hit by its opponents, and its third ability being Weak Armor, which will increase this Pokemon's speed while lowering its physical defense by 1 stage every single time an opponent attacks it with a contact move. But as for its stats, Omastar is actually pretty great defensively, possessing a base 70 HP, 125 physical defense, and 70 special defense, which definitely allows Pokemon to take hits if you are running it on a more defensive moveset. However, do keep in mind that outside of rest, Omastar does not have a reliable way of recovering its own health, so it will need a bit of support if you want to try to run it fully defensively for your team. Offensively though, it possesses a base 60 physical attack, which is not that great, but a base 115 special attack, which allows Pokemon to do a lot of damage with its special moves. And its speed stat being only base 55 is fairly slow, however this Pokemon has multiple ways of increasing its speed to allow it to outpace its opponents. But with all that in mind, this Pokemon currently finds itself in the NU tier. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the first moveset that I have for you in this video. So for this first moveset, we're going to start by running Omastar as a defensive hazard setter. So we're going to start this one off by giving it either a Calm Nature to increase its special defense but lower its physical attack, or a Careful Nature to increase its special defense but lower its special attack, and then going with the Shell Armor ability to make it so that this Pokemon cannot be critically hit by its opponents. As for the EVs, we're going to max out its HP and special defense by putting 252 EVs into both of those stats, and then put the remaining 4 EVs into its speed stat just to make it a point faster. And for the item, we're either going to go with Leftovers, a Citrus Berry, or a Wiki Berry on the set to increase this Pokemon's survivability by allowing it a pretty reliable way of gaining a lot of health back, as because I've mentioned before, this Pokemon doesn't have a reliable recovery move outside of rest, so our item is there to help us out to survive for quite a bit longer. But for the moves, this set is geared towards setting up as many hazards as possible. So Omastar is actually lucky enough to have access to Spikes, Stealth Rock, and Toxic Spikes, which is something not a lot of Pokemon can say that they can do. And this allows this Pokemon to be incredibly deadly when used to set up these hazards, because it can basically set up what it needs to damage your opponent's team in the most efficient way possible. So Stealth Rock is definitely the mandatory one to go with, but then Spikes and Toxic Spikes are there for support. And for your other attacks on the set, you could potentially run Knockoff as a way to allow this Pokemon a reliable way to remove its opponent's item, which can be very beneficial in any given situation, especially since this isn't really more of an offensive set. But we could also go ahead and run Scald on this set as well, to give it a powerful Water-type move that also has a chance to burn opponents, which can be especially useful against Pokemon that are Levitating or Flying types, because they will be unaffected by your Spikes or Toxic Spikes. But overall, this set has a ton of potential as a way of allowing this Pokemon to deal a lot of passive damage to its opponent's team, because they're going to be taking a lot of damage from these entry hazards that it's going to be setting up every single time they switch in. Now, in addition to running the set defensively, you can actually also run the set in a more offensive way that gives Omastar a bit more of a threatening presence on the battlefield. So for this particular variation of the set, we're going to go ahead and actually run it with a Timid Nature this time to increase its speed but lower its physical attack, and then go with the Weak Armor ability because we're going to try to take advantage of the speed boost that we might get. As for the EVs though, this time we're going to max out its special attack and speed stat to give it its highest special attack and speed possible while putting the remainder 4 EVs into its special defense, and then we're going to go ahead and change up its item to a Focus Sash, which is going to allow this Pokemon to survive any hit with at least 1 HP remaining, and this will be essential for allowing Omastar the ability to at least set up 1 layer of hazards and possibly an additional one if given the opportunity, if you're able to outspeed your opponent, possibly as is or with a Weak Armor boost to your speed stat. But for the moves, again, Stealth Rock, Spikes, and Toxic Spikes are all there, but because we're running the set with more speed investment and more special attack investment, this Pokemon can actually set these hazards up way quicker and also be a little bit more of a threatening special attacker while doing so. But additionally, with this set, we can also run it with Shell Smash, which will allow this Pokemon to boost its physical attack, its special attack, and its speed by 2 stages, while lowering its physical defense and special defense by 1, and this will actually allow Omastar the ability to set up hazards and then smash to allow it to essentially become an incredibly threatening and deadly special sweeper. And along with our Shell Smash on this particular set, if you're going with that, Scald and Ice Beam are the 2 best options for type coverage to allow Omastar to deal a lot of damage while attempts to set up hazards and just be able to make use of its massive special attack after the Shell Smash boost. As for this third moveset, we're going to go ahead and run Omastar as an all-out special attacker. So we're going to start this one off by giving it either a timid nature to boost its speed but lower its physical attack, or a hasty nature to increase its speed but lower its physical defense. And for the ability on the set, you can actually go with any option, as they all do have some use. However, I will specify, as you see here in parentheses, that Swift Swim is especially useful when using this on a rain team, because it allows Omastar to hit incredibly hard without any setup required. But for the EVs on this set, since we're trying to be as offensive as possible, we're going to go ahead and max out its special attack and speed by putting 252 EVs into both of those stats, and then put the remainder 4 into its special defense. And for the item on this set, we have quite a few options we can go with. Choice Specs is an excellent option to increase your special attack while locking you into a move, which is especially useful on a rain-based team because this Pokemon will be dealing massive damage with its water-type stab attacks with Choice Specs and Swift Swim. But we could also go ahead and run a Choice Scarf to increase its speed while locking it into a move, an Assault Vest for a more defensive option, which will allow this Pokemon to increase its special defense stat considerably and thus make it very tanky while it deals damage with its special attack, a Life Orb to increase the damage of all of its attacks at the cost of losing 10% of our health every time we damage an opponent, or a Z Crystal to correspond to any of the types of attacks on the set to give you a one-time super powerful move of that type. But for the moves on this set, Scald and Hydro Pump are your main stab water options, Scald obviously being weaker but 100% accurate and having a chance to burn, whereas Hydro Pump is less accurate but is a stronger option. And then we're going to go ahead and run Ice Beam and Earth Power for some really solid coverage, which will allow Omastar the ability to hit a lot of things for really powerful, super effective, or at least neutral damage. As to the last move slot though, there are quite a few options. Hidden Power Grass can be amazing for this Pokemon to allow it to rip through a lot of the water ground types that it might be matched up against, which is very common to see, or Ancient Power as a stab rock type option. But we can also run Hydro Pump in this set in addition to Scald if you want the opportunity to pick your water move of choice, as again they both do have their own uses. And then lastly, Knock Off is an option there as well, just because it's such a great utility move in removing your opponent's items, which can be very beneficial for allowing Omastar to get the jump on something or allow another teammate to finish off its opponent after their item has been removed. But with this move in particular, this is where you want to run the Hasty Nature so that you can deal as much damage as possible with your knockoff. Finally though, for the last set of this video, I'm going to be showing off what is pretty much the standard Shell Smash set for Omastar to run that makes it such a deadly special attacker if given the opportunity to set up. So for this set, again, we're going to go with a Timid Nature to boost its speed but lower its physical attack. And we're also going to go with the same EVs as the previous set of 252 special attack, 4 special defense, and 252 speed to max out its special attack and speed. And for this particular set, going with Shell Armor or Swift Swim is generally the better option. But for the item, a White Herb is pretty standard on a lot of Shell Smash sets, as this allows you to pretty much negate the defense and special defense drop you get when using Shell Smash. But for some more power, we could also run a Life Orb or a Z Crystal on the set to allow Omastar the ability to deal some massive damage to its opponents. But for the moves, Shell Smash is obviously going to be your setup move of choice here, which will increase this Pokemon's physical attack, special attack, and speed by 2 stages while lowering its physical and special defense. And with this, we're going to have access to 3 possible options for a stab water move: Scald, Surf, or Hydro Pump. It really just depends on your preferences on if you want the utility of Scald Burns, the added power and also 100% accuracy of Surf, or just the outright power of Hydro Pump. And then again, Ice Beam, Earth Power, and Hidden Power Grass are going to be your coverage moves of choice to basically allow Omastar, as mentioned before, to hit as many things as possible for either super effective or neutral damage after it has set up with a Shell Smash, and thus potentially allow it to sweep its opponent's team when given the opportunity to. But anyways, everybody, that is it for this video on Omastar, so I hope you all enjoyed, and as always, take care, goodbye, and I will see you all next time.